It's one of the greatest rivalries in all of college football. Welcome to the Nole Insiders Game Preview, delivered by UPS. I'm Lane Hurt, along with Tim Linnefelt. It's the Fresh from Florida Sunshine Showdown, Florida State versus Florida in the Swamp this weekend. Tim, you can throw the records out the window in this one. Doesn't matter. These teams want to beat each other.
Absolutely, and I think, like you mentioned, throw the records out the window, but given the circumstances of this game and everything that's on the line, it's pretty significant. Florida State needs this game to keep its bowl hopes alive. Florida's getting ready to hire a new coach. That could happen any day now, any minute now, if you believe some reports. And they can look at this as an opportunity to, inflict a little bit of pain on their rival in Florida State, be the one who knocks Florida State or at least deals a really damaging blow to Florida State's bowl hopes, and start things off on a positive foot for that new staff. You're going to be trying to impress that new head coach and new staff, and this is kind of your last audition, because this is the last game of the year for Florida. So Florida State obviously planning to play for, and I think Florida has a little bit more to play for than initially meets the eye. So to me, it's a pretty compelling matchup. Maybe kind of ironically the most compelling of the last few years, at least since 2014, when Florida State was still playing for a shot at the college football playoff. A lot of interesting little subplots for this one.
Well, let's take a look at the Florida Gators. They are 4-6 on the year, 3-5 in the SEC, ranked 108th in total offense, 38th in total defense. For years now, the defense has been ahead of the offense there. And then just the matchup in general, the Seminoles have won 4 straight, 6 of the last 7 against Florida. They're on quite a roll in this rivalry. That doesn't happen very often.
No, it's been a pretty streaky rivalry lately. When you think back to the 1990s when both schools were compete for national championships year in and year out, often at the expense of the other one, and then on to the 2000s. We saw Florida have the upper hand for several years under Coach Urban Meyer, and for Florida State fans, like, oh my gosh, we were going to beat these guys again. Well, then Jimbo Fisher arrives, and the pendulum has completely shifted the other way. Florida State's won 6 of 7 and had a lead in the fourth quarter of that 7th game, if you remember. So, been a little bit streaky. Whenever you're on a streak, you always wonder how much longer is it going to go before the momentum starts to swing back the other way. And it's important, I think for Florida, really for all the 3 of the big Florida schools, if you will, but certainly for Florida State and Florida, maintaining that superiority, maintaining that dominance in the state of Florida, among national perception among recruits. It's really, really important, and it goes back to what we were saying a minute ago. The records don't necessarily matter as much as you need to be saying if you're the best team in the state of Florida, you're a pretty good team, and it means a lot to both programs, and it's meant a lot to Florida State the last few years, and they don't want to give that up.
Seminole fans are very familiar with the quarterback situation this year, with DeAndre going down in the first game, James Blackman taking the helm the rest of the way. Florida's had their issues as well. Different, though. They start the season with Felipe Franks. Then they go to Luke Del Rio, get a spark. He gets injured. Back to Franks. Then they go to Malik Zaire, who gave him a little bit of a spark. Now, he got injured, might not be good to go again this week, so it could be Franks once again. Yeah,
it's, for as hard as Florida State's been bit by the injury bug, and they really have, Florida might be the one team in the country that's not going to give Florida State any sympathy for the injuries and some of the things that they've been through, obviously, with the quarterbacks, like you mentioned. They've also had some suspensions down there. They've been really shorthanded. I think they're down to something like 53 scholarship players, an extremely shorthanded, hurt team. Down in Gainesville, and it's kind of been the case for both teams. I think both sides are sort of left wondering, what might have been had you had your full complement of players the entire time. Of course, Florida State, the quarterback was the highest profile one, but they've had lots of players. Landon Dickerson, you lost him a while ago. You had different linemen banged up, different receivers not at full strength throughout the season. You just sort of left wondering what might have been had you had a full healthy slate, but. That's the hand you're dealt sometimes, and again, to me, it just all roads kind of point back to that same end goal, which is like one team's going to feel good at the end of this game and feel better about their season, and the other one's going to feel worse, and it's going to be at the hands of that rival. And so, if you're Florida State, you want to make sure you're the one feeling good.
Let's go to our key matchup this week. Looking at special teams, Florida has 2 of the best kickers in the country: punter Johnny Townsend, kicker Eddie Pinero. And then the Seminoles, they've blocked 5 kicks this year. Something's got to give here if it comes down to a field position thing or a game-winning field goal attempt.
Yeah, and you might as well throw in Ricky Aguayo and Logan Tyler in there as well, some specialists. If you think this game is going to be close, and I tend to think that it will be pretty close, it could come down to special teams. Florida's have been excellent. Florida State's, I think, have actually been pretty good, maybe better than they're getting credit for, particularly Ricky and Logan. And then There's not many teams in the country that are better at blocking kicks than Florida State. You saw it last week against Delaware State, how that game took a steep turn once Florida State blocked that kick, returned it for a field goal. And what's interesting about that to me is, blocked kicks have become so rare in modern football, but when you've done it 5 times, now your guys, when they go out there, they know they can do it. They know they did it last week. They know they can block field goals and punts. They've done 3 field goals, 2 punts. They know that they can do that. And having that confidence, it's one thing to say, oh, we're going to go out there and try and block it. It's another thing to go out there and say, we're going to try to block it, and we know we can. We have a full body of work that can do it. And gosh, I can't imagine a better scenario for Florida State than to get after an early field goal or an early punt and block it and either return it for a touchdown or even just give their offense good field position. Nothing's going to quiet that crowd like a big special teams play.
There you have it, Seminole fans. It's the Fresh from Florida Sunshine Showdown at high noon in Gainesville as Florida State takes on Florida. Make sure you read Tim's 1st and 10 article and watch that YouTube clip. So many to choose from this week. I don't envy you having to find a fun clip.
We'll see. I might have to, while I'm digesting my turkey, I'll have to browse around and see what I can find.
And then, of course, make sure you watch our 3 Keys to Victory on Saturday morning as well. For Tim, I'm Lane. Go Noles.